Every year, Startup Grind hosts our SG Women Leaders Month, proudly recognizing the accomplishments of successful women leaders all over the world. These women are founders, venture capitalists, engineers, executives, educators, and more who represent our community all around the world. This month's SG Women Month is proudly presented by Google for Startups and Silicon Valley Bank.
Coming for tonight's event to share your stories?
Absolutely. I'm excited to tell everyone the Bump Boxes journey and everything I've learned.
Yeah, that's good. Right? That's good. So we'll do about 45 minutes of fireside chat, and then we'll do 15 minutes of questions and answers at the end. Okay.
Perfect.
So wonderful. Yeah, so very good. Let's start with a little bit of introduction of what Bump Boxes do, and then just a little bit background of what this company and business is about, so that people get to know the context.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Bump Boxes is a monthly subscription service for pregnancy and baby products. So moms can sign up at any point during their pregnancy, and they actually get a box of products that are specifically tailored to their due date. So it could be anything that mom is going through during that specific month of pregnancy. So let's say mom is in month 8 of her pregnancy. We know that she's getting her hospital bag ready for delivery day. So that box is called our Be Ready box, and it's everything you would need for your hospital bag. So that way you're ready to go. It's very intentional, very customized. And then once mom actually gives birth, it transitions over to Bitsy boxes, which is a newborn to 3-year-old subscription. All centered around baby's milestones and helping mom and baby have a fun, interactive experience. And so that's really kind of, what Bump Boxes is in a nutshell. And why we started. I mean, I can kind of get into the founding story just to kind of kick everything off. So for those of you out there that are parents, you can kind of relate to, when you first find out you're pregnant or you're going to become a parent. It's so incredibly exciting. There's no words that can describe it at all. Just utter excitement. And then about 15 minutes later, it's like the fear starts to set in that, like, okay, I'm going to be a parent and all of my decisions are going to affect someone else. I mean, directly. So I had that moment, and I did a ton of research and I cleaned up my lifestyle completely. I really dug into, chemicals found in skincare, in food, and how they have endocrine disruptive properties, which affect your hormones, and it affects your developing baby. And so through all of that research, I cleaned up my lifestyle, used better skincare, made better food choices, all just to protect my daughter from the very beginning. And that's really where the idea was born. It was out of the stress of trying to find these products. And there was no safe place I could go to really know that these products were okay to use during pregnancy and beyond. And so, I mean, I even remember just like going into a grocery store. I mean, I went into the body wash aisle and there's 300 different options. And how do you you have no idea what to use. And so that's really where the idea started. I asked around, a lot of my friends were either trying to conceive or were currently pregnant, and they had the same fear, the same stress, same anxiety, same lifestyle shift at the exact same moment. I'm like, okay, there's something here. And as, a first-time mom, this isn't something that we should have to worry about. And I'm like, okay, we have to fix it. Like there's something that has to be done to where we don't have, this is one thing we don't have to worry about anymore. And so that's really where the idea started. And after my daughter was born, my husband and I were like, okay, like let's start developing this idea. There's something here. And I still remember, mocking up these boxes with all of the products I had selected, like during my own pregnancy, and just configuring them into these themed boxes. And it was almost like a puzzle, in a sense. But that's really where the idea started. And it's just taken off from there. But yeah, that's really kind of what the foundation was. It was just out of the need of finding these safe and healthy products for pregnancy.
That's amazing. That was how many years ago when you officially started?
Yeah, when we officially started, it was about 5 years ago. It was the official start.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember, my husband and I worked on it, for about a year and a half until we actually were like, okay, it's go time. Like, we have to, we were both working full time, working on bump boxes at night. I mean, the typical startup story, right? I mean, like you're just kind of multitasking 2 jobs along with, a 1-year-old, right? So yeah, I mean, we just finally went for it. And it's just been an amazing experience ever since. It's been amazing.
That's amazing. Before bump boxes, have you started your previous business, or this is your first business?
This is my first business. So I worked in corporate America for 7 years. So same company, multiple roles within that company. But this was like the first time that I kind of stepped out and started something. And I can kind of relate. I was kind of watching the Slido poll too, and it looks like a lot of people are in the idea stage.
Yeah.
So I can totally relate to that, and how like it's exciting, but then it's like, it's very scary trying to make that transition, right? It's kind of like that awkward moment where you have to decide, am I really going to do this 110% or not, right? And just kind of timing it right to where like you feel good with that. But yeah, it is exciting though, that idea stage and kind of making the leap and the jump. It's exciting.
Yeah, before your career is in accounting, right? Finance and accounting, CPA, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Is it surprising for your friends and family to see you start a business, or are you, when you're young, you're already like an entrepreneurship kind of person?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really was surprising, because I think, especially in like accounting and finance, I'm a CPA, so like just by nature we're risk averse. I think we're a little more conservative. And so I think it did catch people off guard when I'm like, hey, I'm leaving, this job to, go start my own thing. I just don't think people were ready for that, just because by nature, all the other accountants that I was surrounded by just aren't, they're risk averse. So, and especially I think too, like where we're at in the United States, we're right in the middle. So like we're in the Midwest, we're not along the coast. So, like when we're growing up, we're seeing everyone, going to college, going to work at, the local companies here in town. You know what I mean? Like the startup scene isn't as prevalent now. It is, but yeah, I mean, I just, it's just super, super exciting.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So your friends and family are surprised by it, but are they supportive to the idea, or do you see like frictions, in terms of when you're just starting?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was funny, because I think when we first had the concept, it was really early on, when subscription boxes just kind of started booming, right? Like it was really kind of at the early stages. And so like we were kind of explaining the concept to people, and they were like, oh, okay, like I think I get it. It's like, but it was kind of like the not like fully understanding it quite yet. And it's like, okay, just wait and see. Like wait until we launch this thing. You're gonna get it. You're gonna understand it. But I think that because like it was a subscription model, like, and it was kind of at the beginning, I think that made a difference.
Yeah, and it's like a booming or trending, industry, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that like luckily, like we've had a lot of support from friends and family, especially when we were launching, which is amazing, because I mean, as everybody, in here knows, I mean, as an entrepreneur, there's so much that you go through during the course of launching and scaling, even, that it's nice to have that support system there. And I think it's definitely necessary, especially as you start to scale, even after launch.
Yeah. So when you after your launch, how do you get your first, few customer? Like how is the like the starting phase look like?
Yeah, I think, it's funny when we originally launched, like we
Mhm.
thought that the launch was going to be the hardest part. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of people think that. And then it's like once you launch, the hardest part is actually the marketing after the fact, right? It's like the build up and then the marketing after. And so, when it comes to, really acquiring those first few customers, you have to kind of get, boots on the ground, right? Like you have to get in front of people. I mean, I remember in the early days, we did a lot of trade shows and we did it from, like a customer acquisition perspective, but also, it's different pitching something and then seeing someone's reaction to it. Because you can see like what resonates with them. You can tweet, 4 words, and it might make the difference between oh, this is great versus, oh, okay, I understand. And so like we were able to get a lot of customer feedback super early just by having FaceTime with our moms and just kind of listening to them, understanding what they need, kind of taking a look at the niche as a whole just to see like where the gaps are, like what moms are really looking for and they're unable to find. And I think that was how we really were able to refine what we were doing in the early stages and even pivot. We're so good at like pivoting pretty quickly. And we were able to do that just by getting that feedback so fast. And so like, I think when, you focus on that, first few customers, I mean, like you really kind of have to, get in front of them. And then, for us, especially in e-commerce, obviously a lot of that's digital. But especially in the early days, it's like, okay, get in front of your customer and see their reaction. And even now, it's like talking to customers, understanding what's going on, understanding their needs, and never losing sight of that, I think is really important.
Yeah. So what do you find in early days in terms of the first bunch of customer that you talk to? What are the initial reaction and comments or feedback from your, early, version number 1 of Unboxed?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think like initially our customers loved it. And what was interesting was when we originally launched, we launched as an e-commerce platform. So it was basically a store where you could buy your safe and healthy pregnancy products. And that's how we originally started. So like it wasn't really like a subscription until about like 2 months into like full launch mode. And I can get into that story too. I mean, I had sought out someone as a mentor who was in this space. Like she had just sold her company for, $200 million. I was like, okay, like I have to understand this industry. And I really want to learn from her. And so at our first trade show out in New York City, she agreed to meet with me, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic, and I'm sure I hounded her. I probably sent her like 75 emails. I'm not kidding. I was relentless. I was like, I have to meet with you and understand this industry and what's going on. And so we met up and had coffee, and in the early days, like I think something like this meeting was just so like instrumental to like where we are today. We were talking back and forth, and we had just done so much around our e-commerce platform, and we offered a subscribe and save off. I mean, we offered so many options and so many different things. And at the end of the meeting, she looked at me and she's like, "What are you?" And I kind of hesitated. And she's like, "You're a box company, be a box company." And she got up and walked out. And I'm like, oh, this was the worst meeting I've ever had. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, I just blew it. And, but what she was trying to say is we were just overcomplicating and over engineering it early. I mean, it's like, get it out there in its most simplistic form and then get the feedback. We had tried to do too many things early on. And by pulling back and simplifying the offering, it just made a world of difference. Like we already had the subscription boxes set. We were just offering them gift boxes initially. And so we're like, scratch it. We're just going to offer the subscription. So, so my husband and I, like we left the meeting and like, we were just so mad at how it ended that walked the wrong direction to the trade show by like 2 miles. I mean, we didn't say a word to each other. We're just like walking head down. I'm like, oh my goodness. And finally, like, we looked up at each other, and he was like, where are we going? And I'm like, I don't know. And this is like for our business right now. Like, we got to figure this out. And so on the way back to the trade show, we called our developer, like we switched our website to offer a subscription service. We changed our pitch. We changed everything but the banner. The banner was the only thing we couldn't change. And we pivoted the entire company in 25 minutes right before our first trade show launch. And it's been amazing ever since, but it was just such a pivotal moment, very, very early on. And I'm so thankful for that meeting. And I stay in contact with her too. I'm like, you have no idea. That was the best wake-up call you could have ever given us. But yeah, it was just a very pivotal meeting, a really pivotal point for us.
That's amazing. I think mentor is like one of the underrated, things that you need to get. Make sure you get it early so that you know where you're going is correct, and all those advice are usually very good, especially for first time business owner or first time founders.
Right.
Very, very, very good advice. Yeah. So you mentioned your husband and you guys, start this company and business together.
Yes.
Have you guys imagined that before you actually started? Like, how did that go? How did that conversation go? Like
that 24/7. Yeah. Well, I think it's kind of funny. It's a lot of it is. It's very similar to like learning how to live with someone. Like when you think about an analogy, it's like you have to figure out who's doing what in the house, right? And how you're gonna interact. And so, so like in the early days, we're like trying to figure out, okay, like what are your strengths? What are my strengths? Like, let's do this, and try to figure this out. And I think we work so well as a team. I mean, he's the gas pedal and I'm like the brake. So like, and so like how we work well together, he's the visionary. So he's coming up with new verticals, new business ideas, working on the R&D side of things, like spooling up new business units. And then my role as the integrator and CEO is to make sure that we can grow and scale and communicate across all the different groups that we have to ensure the success. So we work so well together because he's coming up with these ideas and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of like a perfectionist, which I've gotten over since starting a business, right? Like you have to learn how to like let some of that go. But we work really well together as a team when it comes to that with that kind of like balloon and a string, right? Like, that kind of division. So I always hear that the founding team dynamic is very important. Like if they can complement each other with different skill set and experience and strength, it's always good. And especially it's good that it's your husband or your partner that you know him so well already. It's easier that way. But as a husband and wife team, there are different dynamics and different situations where you are living together, you have babies together, and then you have to worry about the family and the business at the same time. How do you guys go through that? What kind of challenge that kind of came up in those situations and for the past 2 years? Yeah, absolutely. So I think, like one of the things that like we've learned is like you leave all the home stuff at home. You know what I mean? Like, so like no matter what happened in the morning or night, who cares? Like you leave it at home and this is like, okay, business hat, right? Like it's a different place and time. And then also like when we're at home, it's making sure that, that like you're separating yourself a little bit from the business. And that's super hard, especially when you grow something and you're passionate about it and you're both passionate about it. So all you want to do is, talk about it and like work things all the time. But it's like making sure that, when we get home to when the kids go to bed, that's family time, and we try not to let anything interfere with that. I mean, if we have to pick it up later at night, obviously, yes, the kids go to bed, totally fair game. But yeah, we try to separate it, and it's really hard. It's a very difficult balancing act.
Mm-hmm.
It really is, especially when you're so passionate about it, I think that if you can do really kind of do the division,
Mm-hmm.
and make sure you kind of have clear lines, then I think it really helps. It really helps to manage it all.
That's good. And you mentioned you both start full times on this bump boxes when your daughter is about 1 year old, or what? Mm-hmm. About what time was that?
Yeah, so she was probably, let's see, we started on it around she's probably 6 months old is when we kind of started, developing the idea. And and we worked on it for about a year until we were like, okay, we're gonna go for it, launch, take the plunge. And that's when I left my corporate job.
Yeah.
And so, there was a lot of analysis that was done. I'm like, okay, I have to prove this out, based on the data, right? And just make sure, because that's, all about what taking the leap is. It's, making sure you're taking risks, but it's calculated, and you kind of know, and kind of envision what that future is going to hold. But yeah.
What kind of challenges do you guys went through, especially when you still, trying to take care of the young baby, and you still have to, juggle all those and wearing multiple hats, especially, during the early days.
Yeah. I mean, I think, the hardest thing was probably, it is hard to juggle it all. I mean, it's definitely not easy, but I think, when you're starting a company, with your spouse, it's you're both in it together. And so that's the other thing, is that you both kind of understand what's going on. And then there's two of you there to kind of be there for each other, especially when it comes to, what's going on with the kids and what's going on with the business, and kind of tag teaming. So it's okay, you have this meeting. All right, I'll take the kids, we'll kind of coordinate. And it actually, it seems pretty seamless. I mean, because we've just been doing it for so long, since we started our family. So we really don't know any different, but I think it's definitely beneficial, especially if you're in it with your spouse, because it just makes it so much easier to coordinate.
That's good that you guys figure things out and get that going, and so that you guys can actually focus on the business when you have to do it. Focus on the business. Yeah. So in the early days, it's just the two of you working on this.
Yes.
So when did you figure out you need to find outside help? This is too much, you have to find and hire your first employee. When was that?
Yeah, so it was, we were probably about 3 or 4 months in. And, I think, and this is something, especially when you start a business, it's you have to think of what are the needs for the business to grow and scale. And then also, what are your weaknesses? And you have to be really honest with yourself, very honest with yourself. And so, early on, because we were a direct-to-consumer brand, I think, one of the biggest things for us was, okay, I have to hire a designer. I do not have a design background. Obviously, I'm a CPA by trade. I'm terrible. If you go back out to our Facebook post from 2015 or 16, you'll see, it was pretty brutal. But so that was one thing. I'm all right, this is one of my biggest weaknesses. I have to find an expert and someone that can really bring this brand to life. And so that was where we started, was a designer. But I think that, especially in the early days, as you're building your team, you always have to make sure that you have the right people in the right seats. And so obviously me being in a design role was a terrible idea and shouldn't, I shouldn't be in that role. And it was desperately needed. And so I think that, when you think about building teams and scaling a company, that's really, really important to be honest with yourself and know what your strengths and weaknesses are. It makes it so much easier to build a team that way.
Yeah, and Bump Boxes was bootstrapped basically, right? You guys didn't really take on investor money early on to start things. At that time, were you guys getting more revenue? 3 to 4 months or a few months in is still relatively early, like.
Right.
Yeah. How was the the decision in terms of finding? Is that like a full-time employee at that time, the designer?
Yeah, full-time employee.
So it's a big commitment in terms of the finance side of things, right?
It is, absolutely. Well, and I think, anytime you bootstrap, like you have to constantly go back to data and your projections and just constantly look to the future because, you don't have the VC capital to back up bad decisions. You just don't. So it's like, okay, you have to really, think through kind of what your next step is and where you're headed. And in a lot of ways, you have to be just really cognizant of, okay, like if I do, step A, like this is the expectation that I get to step, C or whatever. You just really have to map it out and plan. And I think that, because we started out that way, it's really been a benefit to us because, it's funny when we first started, I think for the first 3 years, we're just nonstop working with our heads down. We didn't even think about visibility. Like we didn't think about anything. We're just like, all right, like we're just gonna grow as fast as we possibly can, and the beauty of our business is that the profitability allows for reinvestment into the business, right? So that's the beauty of a subscription model for anything. It's reliable revenue that you can really map out and plan around. So but yeah, I think that especially when it comes to that predictable revenue, I think it really, really helps. And it allowed us to bootstrap like we did, but yeah.
And you guys actually, because it's a recurring revenue, it kind of helps in terms of going because you see that as long as you can keep most of your customer happy and because it's like early days when they have baby, they will still need all those needs are still, the same, right? They just need more and more stuff later on. So your business is going with their family, basically. As their need arise, you have different products for them for their next stage, right? So what kind of things, or challenge your customer tell you that, you can bring them the solution? Like what kind of the feedback from the first year or so as you grow your business, you have developed other products to kind of support the different needs of your initial customer group?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny. So our mission is to make mom's life easier. And so that mission has really allowed us to look at everything that affects mom and try to figure out how to solve those issues. For example, one problem would be, couples arguing over a baby name. Like that's a stressor, and that's a real life problem. It happens. Everyone goes through that. And so we created an app called the Baby Name Matcher app, and it's basically like a Tinder for baby names. So you swipe one way if you like it, you swipe the other if you don't, and you match with your partner. At the end of the day, you have a list of baby names, and guess what? There's no arguing. Done. And then we've also done other things too. So we're launching a prenatal vitamin program. We're also launching breast pumps. So there's a lot of things, surrounding mom that we can help make her life better, make her life a little more stress-free. And that's, really allowed us to look at things and really create some different verticals. Another thing that we also do that a lot of people don't know about, we have corporate clients.
Mm-hmm.
So we work with over 300 corporate clients across the country. And, we basically help them with gifting for maternity wellness, and anything that mom is going through. So yeah, it's just really allowed us to kind of look at different business units and different business divisions to kind of help grow. And it all really centers around the mission of making mom's life easier.
Yeah, as like a e-commerce business, you guys, in the early days, you guys didn't really manufacture or produce your own products, in a sense that you don't you don't source it from manufacturers. Or how do you find your products and things that you pick for the curate for those boxes that you send to your customers?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the early days, we started by going direct to vendors. So we found products that we liked. A lot of our initial vendors that we started with were products that I had actually used during my pregnancy. And so I remember in the early days calling. I mean, just asking for a case of lotion. And we were so small that for some of these companies, it would cost them more to set us up as a customer than to actually sell to us. And so some of them turned us down. And so I had to get on the phone and explain the vision of where we were headed and what we were going to do and what we were going to accomplish. And it was really interesting early on, just convincing them to sell to us. And then now, fast track to the future, we're manufacturing like some of our products. A lot of those companies that initially said no are, some of our best partners now, so it's right now it's a mix of, vendor partnerships, and then actually manufacturing our own products. So Glow Organic Skincare, that's a skincare line that we developed. And it's manufactured here. And then we also have Bump Life, which is a lifestyle brand. So there's just so much opportunity, what I mean? Help mom. And as we kind of find these issues and solve these problems, we're able to actually, manufacture the actual products. And Glow Organics was really born out of the need to find, some pregnancy skincare line that was pampering, but also affordable and right, like all of the things that you want. And so we decided to develop our own. And so, it's really allowed us to, to create really solid partnerships, but then also manufacture our own product.
Yeah, and when you start to produce or have your own products and manufacture your own products, at that point, what kind of revenue or customers are you getting monthly at that point? Like, was that like early on, or like at what stage do you start to think that okay, maybe we should have our own products and stuff, or buying from someone else?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were probably about 2 years in, and we were like, okay, like we have to kind of start thinking about our own products. Just from the perspective of the uniqueness of our brand, we want some uniqueness there, and then also to just from a supply chain perspective, it's like I like having some of our own products in our boxes. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was about probably halfway through. Like it probably didn't make it. Honestly, it wouldn't have made sense in the beginning to do it that way. Manufacturing our product, but like once you build up the volume, then it's like okay, now it makes sense from an inventory perspective and brand perspective to move forward and go for it. But yeah, I mean, I remember developing that skincare line, and man, I tell you what, we tested so many different essential oil blends. I mean, we're experts now. But yeah, and that was really fun to create those products and launch that. But yeah, like I think once you hit the volume and the scale, then it makes sense to do that.
So at that time, roughly how many customer was that? Are you getting per month? Just a rough idea, like a rough number. Something.
Oh, like back when we decided to
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like we probably had, I would say, like around like 7,000 like monthly subscribers like back then.
So you get like a initial size enough volume to make sense for all those manufacturing and shipping costs, right?
Right. Yeah.
If you only have like 100, it doesn't make too much sense. There's no margin in it, right?
Yes, there's definitely economies of scale when it comes to manufacturing your own product, and so you just have to be smart about it. And the beauty of, you know, like what we've created is we have our own distribution channel. So when we create something, like we can already, you know, like count on immediate sales because it's going in our subscription box. Like we already have the direct to consumer line there. So yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, and every business is different. You know, I don't want to say there's like a good point or like a, you know, a good clean cut there, but yeah, I mean, you know, you kind of have to run the numbers and see, but yeah, the volume has to be there, you know, in order to create a product.
That's good. So in terms of distribution and, you know, the logistics side of things of the business, being an e-commerce business, logistics is one of the most critical part of the whole business. So what kind of challenges do you guys went through, and what do you figure out, you know, how to do it and how to solve it?
Right. I mean, I think, you know, when it comes to logistics, I think, you know, early on, like we did the analysis of trying to figure out, okay, do we want to do fulfillment in-house? Do we want to outsource? Like, what are we going to do there? And, you know, I think it's always been important to us to do our own fulfillment. So like we do everything in-house. And because of that, we're able to react quickly and pivot quickly, or if we find a good product, we can get it in immediately. And so I think that's allowed us to be really nimble. And, you know, and I think, you know, when I think about like the challenges, you know, we've scaled so quickly that like the biggest challenge for us has always been like the warehouse, like the office and warehouse space, right? I mean, because I remember, you know, we went from like a 1,500 square foot facility, like early on, very early. And then we moved into an 18,000 square foot facility. And, you know, early on, we were like, okay, like we'll rent out some of the office space, you know, and, you know, to offset the cost. And then, you know, we did the projections and we're like, oh my God, we're going to need all this space in 5 months. Just kidding. Like, that's not going to work. And so I think, yeah, the biggest thing, you know, is just like space planning, for us. And then also too, you know, like your relationships with your partners, you know, like the brands that we work with and that we love, you know, it's like really having those solid relationships is really important, just from like a supply chain perspective. But yeah, I mean, I think, between like space and vendor partnerships, like those are the two biggest things to watch out for, especially as you're scaling. I mean, it's so funny, even like the sign on our building, it's like the Bump Box logo is so small because we were assuming we were going to rent out space. So, it makes me smile every time we go to the office. I'm like, oh, this is great. But yeah, like even now, like we're moving warehouses again. We're moving into 100,000 square foot facility. And so, you know, it's just one of those things. It's like, you have to know at what point the time is right, you know, to move facilities. But yeah, for us, I mean, I think, you know, having fulfillment in-house has always, you know, set us apart, and it makes us nimble. And then there are challenges along the way, but, you know, as entrepreneurs, you guys all know, they're easy to solve. You know, we'll always solve for them. We'll always figure it out. You know, we're pretty resourceful. But yeah, those would have been the biggest challenges probably.
So Bumpbox had been going through a amazing and fast-paced growth in the last few years since you guys start. You know, in terms of numbers and growth ratio, it's quite amazing and quite fast. Like, right now it's over 20 million annual recurring revenue already. How do you guys do in terms of getting the sales and marketing side of things to get to this point? And get the growth rate that you guys hit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, when we think about bump boxes and kind of what we're setting out to do, a lot of people know us and love us for our subscription service, and that's our bread and butter. And we've always stayed true to our mission, true to our moms. And because we've built up that trust with her, it's really, really, allowed us to scale as quickly as we have because of that trust that we've built. But then I think also, like what we're setting out to do is be the #1 mom acquisition company in the world. Like that's our goal. That's where we're going. And by acquisition, I don't mean like using content to get her attention. I don't mean anything like that. It's more like, okay, like I want mom to trust us so much that she opens up her wallet to us and purchases something from us because she knows what she's going to get and she trusts like what we're going to bring her. And that's really what we focused on. So, we've made this transition to, really be lead acquisition focused. So like when it comes to acquisition efforts, there's lots of different things that we've launched in order to help mom know about us, and get the word out from that perspective.
What kind of strategy and channels worked for you guys in terms of getting those, new customers?
A lot. There's a lot of different things that we've developed. So I mean, I think you obviously have like your traditional channels, like you have email, social, affiliate, kind of the main things that people know about. And then there's different things that we've done as well. So like our baby name matcher app, like that also has ads for bump boxes in it and low organic skincare. You know what I mean? It's all kind of interconnected. So from, like a lead acquisition perspective, we've done a lot of things behind the scenes to like really spool that up and get that rolling relatively quickly. And I think that that's really allowed us to scale. So I think it's a combination of, how you focus on your customer to build the trust first. You have to do that. Otherwise you won't scale, otherwise like your churn, if you have a subscription service, your churn rate would be through the roof. So you have to have mom's trust. You have to provide her with exactly what she wants, in order to make that happen. So.
Yeah, and you guys focus on mainly U.S. Market, right?
Yeah, mainly U.S. Yeah, we do have customers in Canada, in the UK as well, and we do ship internationally. So we get a lot of requests for international shipments.
That's good. So in terms of talking about acquisition, let's talk about different types of acquisition, the business acquisition kind of things. So since you guys launched, you've acquired other businesses to kind of, to grow your business. How is that side of things go? Like how at what point do you think it's a good time to start doing that for the growth perspective for your business?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely, it definitely depends on, obviously what stage you are in your business. And then also, what you're looking for. So there's different reasons why, you would want to acquire another business. It could be an acqui-hire. It could be, to increase revenue. I mean, like there's so many different aspects of it. And so, like when I think about like our growth, like we had some early acquisitions, like early on, of similar subscription businesses. So, and we felt that it made sense, to acquire them early. And so that was kind of our thought there. But yeah.
I think buying up monthly subscription or recurring business models are easier because you can kind of predict when your return of investment is kind of like after after a certain period of time you're going to just get more money out of it, right?
Right. Well, and when you think about it, like when you think about your acquisition cost, obviously with a subscription model, like the LTV just keeps like growing and growing, right? So like obviously like the customer acquisition cost can obviously increase because of the LTV.
Yeah.
So.
That's good. So what kind of plans do you guys have for the next next phase or next stage now that you are at a sizable and have the growth that you've been through?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, it's just continue to scale like we are. So continue the growth rate that we've had, but then also adding different verticals along with our subscription service that we do have. So like I mentioned, our prenatal line, our breast pumps. I know like a lot of moms don't realize that insurance will cover the cost of breast pumps. Like I didn't realize that when I was pregnant. And so we've made that process super easy for mom to be able to sign up, submit her information, and then we basically facilitate that for her. So we've definitely looked at different things we can do to help mom, or anything that would make her life easier, but then also grow the business at the same time. I mean, it's a win-win, right? And again, it goes back to that trust and treating mom right, and really always staying true to the mission. And I think a lot of people that start and grow companies, like they have to kind of really focus on what they want to accomplish, because there's so many things going on, right? There's so many different tracks you can go down, so many different options of things you can you can test and kind of pivot to, but I think really kind of diving in, looking at the data and really understanding what your customer wants, like you can do those things, then really you're going to scale and really accelerate that growth.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's all about the customer. Like, as long as you've solved that problem, they will be, your customer forever.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. And you just have to listen.
Basically, yeah.
They'll tell you what they want. And so, I mean, like, and that's what we've been really good at, is really like listening to our moms, understanding what they need, understanding what the pain points are throughout pregnancy. There's a lot of things throughout pregnancy, that we can solve, even postpartum. And so I think just listening to mom and really understanding what those milestones are and what those pain points are. And then just methodically, hey, okay, let's solve it and fix it for mom. I think that's really powerful, and that's why we've been able to grow as fast as we have, because we're there for our moms, and they're going to tell their friends, because that's just how it works. So I think that's been really, really pivotal for us.
Yeah, the word of mouth is really powerful marketing. As long as you solve that problem and they like your service or your product, then they will tell more people about it, right?
Right, absolutely. And we know, I mean, like, even from my experience, it's like, a lot of my friends are pregnant around the same time. That's just how it works. It's like everyone gets married around the same time. It's just, that's just, life. But so I think the word of mouth, especially for what we do, is definitely crucial for us, for sure.
That's good. You mentioned about having a corporate program for corporates. How was the transition, or how was the transition from just a direct to consumer business into like a B2B is a totally different ballgame. How was the initial struggle when you're just starting the B2B business unit?
Yeah, so I think, it was interesting. We started getting inbound interest, it was about a year and a half ago, to where companies were reaching out to us, just asking us, if they can bulk order some boxes, for their expecting moms. And so, after about the third email, we're like, okay, like, we're getting inbound interest, and we're not doing anything, like, we're not advertising, we're not doing anything to get this interest. So there's something here. And then after talking to, moms at in the corporate world, it's like, okay, like, what do you experience, like when you're expecting, and just try to understand kind of where mom comes from. Even my own experience, I'm like, okay, we have to help, these companies make a better connection to mom during really crucial time in her life. Like this is a very life-changing moment. And if you can make that connection during that moment, it's going to speak volumes. And so I think, through getting that inbound interest and then also kind of diving in and taking a look at, what's going on and how we can help, I think that kind of opened our eyes to, okay, there's definitely something here and there's definitely a need. And so yeah, I think the transition was really just from inbound originally.
So when you find, you have enough interest and demand for that, do you start to build an outbound team to kind of ramp up that business?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of, and we always talk about this at Bump Boxes. We'll test, 10 things and 9 of them might fail, but that one that doesn't will just 10x your business, right? I mean, and that's how it goes for everyone. So we really encourage everyone to test as much as they can for that reason. But this is very similar to that. It's like, okay, like let's test, let's get a couple clients in the door. Let's see, how this process would work and kind of understand like what kind of a team we would need to build around this to really take it to where we know it can go, just based on, the market size that we thought was out there. And so, yeah, so it's kind of just, like diving in, getting into the weeds, kind of like getting a feel for, what's going on, how the client relationship is going to work, just kind of understanding the ins and outs of how this is going to function. And then, getting out of the dirt and kind of getting into the clouds and saying, okay, like overall view, what kind of a team do we have to build here to really make it happen? And so that's kind of, how we did it, especially making the transition to B2B.
Yeah. And this is just, 300 corporates is just the beginning kind of, you still have a lot of market to, to go into. And this is just US, right? So, so it's just like a huge opportunity to actually go that. And I think you find a way to kind of scale and meet the demand, and it's all good.
Yeah.
So you guys also have a start a fund for entrepreneurs, mom, what's it called? Like momtrepreneur, or how do you pronounce that?
Mompreneur.
Mompreneur fund to encourage more mom and female founders, entrepreneurs to start their business. Tell us more about the that fund and how to get the fundings and what are the requirements and more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we launched the Bump Fund. We launched it, it's probably been about 4 months now. And it's been amazing. Oh my gosh, the amount of submissions we've received. I mean, it just speaks volumes. But we launched this because obviously when we started, we bootstrapped, and when we first started, we didn't intentionally bootstrap. It wasn't intentional. We started going down the path of raising, and then I started doing the math, and I'm like, okay, if I spend months focused on raising capital to grow the business, how much further would I get? You know what I mean? Like how far will that propel the company? And I started running the numbers, and I'm like, if I just focused on my business for the next 3 to 4 months instead of going to raise capital, I'm actually going to be further ahead. You know what I mean? Like I'm just going to be ahead. So that's something that we learned very early, is that there isn't a huge focus on mom-focused businesses for capital. There just isn't. And so, we realized that early on. And so, now that we're kind of at the place that we are, it's like, all right, like we have to change this. We have to fix this issue. And so that's really, why we launched the Bump Fund, was to find other mom-focused businesses and really help them scale with the learnings that we have. Because, obviously, I mean, like I said before, we'll test 9 things or 10 things, 9 won't work, but 1 will. It's like if I can, help another, mom-focused business, not have to go through that, the 9 tests, right? I mean, we can scale it really fast. So that was really the whole thought behind the Bump Fund, is to really help other mom-focused businesses scale even at a faster rate than we are. And so, yeah, it's been really exciting. The number of submissions has just been so great, and we're getting through them all. But yeah, I mean, and I think that just, is a testament for the need, for VC capital for mom-focused companies.
Yeah, that's amazing initiative, and I think this is really, really good for potential female entrepreneurs or mompreneurs that want to start their own business and want to scale their business from there. Because female entrepreneurs is hard. Raising fund is hard because there's not enough fund that are focused on female founders, and
right.
what you guys do is quite amazing to have the give them the opportunity to grow, which is good. More resources is always needed for startups.
Absolutely.
Especially the early days, like both. I think both the finance side of thing and also the advice, right? The mentorship, like you mentioned, your first mentor is instrumental to the whole business. So it's always good to have all those resources to help founders to start and get the business going.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think the hardest thing, especially for people that are first starting out on their entrepreneur journey, I mean, it's just taking the leap to go is the hardest part. And so I think if you have someone in your corner that encourages you and supports you through that, especially from like a mentorship perspective, it just makes it so much easier, and it makes the transition a little less scary, Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the COVID-19 situation.
Yeah.
We are here. So now e-commerce hits hard in terms of, COVID-19 kind of changes every industry, but e-commerce is one of the industry that kind of hits hard. It's affected in different ways, both the logistics kind of thing and the, supply and demand kind of thing. What does the, COVID-19, challenge in terms of bump boxes? What kind of challenges do you guys go through?
Yeah, I mean, I think like for us, I think especially in our niche, like when I think about our mom, the thing with COVID is that it's changed her buying behavior. So when you think about it, she's pregnant. So especially as a first-time mom, pregnancy is very uncertain and scary. And then you add COVID on top of it, it gets exponentially even more scary. And so, and with mom being pregnant, she obviously doesn't want to go out shopping right now. She doesn't want to go to a grocery store. Like, I mean, these places are just being avoided just because of the uncertainty around COVID, right? And so I think what you're seeing, especially in our niche, and even, the majority of direct-to-consumer companies, is that, obviously, like their sales are increasing just because buying behavior is changing, and people are ordering, direct-to-consumer versus being able to go, to a brick and mortar. And so you're kind of seeing that with all direct-to-consumer companies, or most of them at least. So I think you're seeing that happening. But then you're also kind of seeing, a lot of these bigger brick and mortar brands are kind of falling by the wayside amidst all of this. And it almost seems like it kind of sped that up a little bit, on some of these. But I don't know. I mean, I think, COVID for direct to consumer companies, at least ours and our niche, moms trust us. And we have products available for her that we can ship her, so that way she doesn't have to go to a store and stress. So I think, we're definitely there for her during it. That's for sure. And we've listened to our moms to try to figure out what they need during this time too, and trying to provide those products for her, I think is definitely crucial as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. In terms of, post COVID-19 and, we see that a lot of the business will rely on the community that they build to kind of, continue to build trust and also gain, customers and grow that business that way and help more customer and get more new customer that way. So in terms of bump boxes, how big is the bump boxes community now? The mom community worldwide now.
Yeah, so now we reach about 14 million moms a month across all of our channels. Yeah, so we're definitely growing our mom community. And I think that, it's just a testament to our team and how we've really, done, what's right for mom, every aspect that we do. And I think, that mission, it rings true throughout bump boxes. How do we make her life easier? How can we, really alleviate all of these pain points for her?
What kind of things do you guys do to build, and to grow this community?
Yeah, so I think, a lot of it is interacting with our moms. So you'll see, obviously, our social channel is really important in that aspect because it gives you a voice, obviously, affiliate is crucial as well because like you said, like moms will tell other moms and that's just an easy channel, you know what I mean? And it makes sense. And then also moms, the word of mouth is very important too. But yeah, from like a reach perspective, I really think that, the social aspect is hugely important, and really giving a voice and being able to interact with mom on a day-to-day basis is really important.
And a lot of them, they are having similar, issues or challenges as they go through their different stages. As their kids go up, their babies go up, they have stuff to talk about, right?
Right. They're all going through the same thing at the same time. And and really building communities around that. Even different groups around, moms at different stages of their pregnancy. It's definitely fun to see it. And I think the best part about it is seeing our moms interact with each other like that, what I mean? Like that speaks volumes too. But yeah.
What kind of things do you guys do for the community? Do you guys do in-person events? Well, before the COVID-19 thing, but what kind of things do you guys do? Like,
yeah, we did like trade shows. Yeah, we've done trade shows. But yeah, I mean, I think we do. We've done lives. We've done. We've done a lot of just interactive, things on social. Something that we also do. Our customer experience team is absolutely phenomenal. And they call our customers, and they call our moms not just from the perspective of, hey, how do you like your subscription? It's more of a, hey, mom, I'm here for you. If you need anything, you just let us know, even if it's just to talk. Like, even if you have to vent, if you had a bad day, if you're craving pizza, we will help you. We'll direct you somewhere in your local city. We will go above and beyond and help. And I think that the willingness to help is super important, and it's genuine. Like we're all moms. Like there's so many moms that work at bump boxes. So it's like we are the customer and we understand. So we just try to implement those things that we would like, as a customer. And I think that definitely speaks volumes with our community.
That's good. I think it's time for us to go to the Q&A session to answer some of the questions that our audience have. Let me turn on the slide to just see what kind of questions we have. We have quite a few questions, so we'll go through from the top. Yeah. So first one, when you first start off, were there a lot of traction from such a niche market, or what are the channels you start off with marketing?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like when we first started, I obviously didn't have a background in e-commerce. So and neither did my husband. So we're self-taught in a lot of things. But, I think, anytime you launch something, especially in a niche market like we have, it definitely differentiates you. and it allows you to focus on your specific customer instead of going so broad. And so I think for us, I think when we launched the site, we immediately thought, oh, we're going to get 100,000 people, immediately, because you just don't know any better when you launch. And so, it obviously takes time to get that traction spooled. But yeah, I mean, I think when we first started with marketing, and this kind of goes like in connection with like the second question too, like when we first started marketing, we really focused on trade shows, like being in front of mom. And then also mom bloggers. So kind of understanding the mom blogger community to really help us get the word out about what we were doing. And that's kind of where we started, just to initially launch, get the word out, get some buzz around what we were doing. And that was kind of the first kind of step we took. And then, we're basically, self-taught in paid acquisition, email marketing, social. Our revenue team is phenomenal. Like they just, oh my gosh, it's just amazing some of the milestones that they're hitting. But yeah, that's kind of where we started, was mom bloggers.
That's good. So the next question is, when you are getting started in your business, how do you find an economic and reliable shipping provider?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think the thing for us, and we've done business this way quite often. I mean, obviously you have to get multiple quotes. I think that's the most important thing. And then you also have to, renegotiate when you hit specific milestones. So like as your volume increases, like especially if you're focused in e-commerce or any direct to consumer, I think you have to kind of take a look at your volume and have those renegotiation points kind of in the back of your mind. But yeah, I mean, I think like going out and getting quotes from different providers and seeing what the benefits are, I think is really helpful, and it allows you to see the full picture.
That's good. Next question: when did you create a family of brands instead of branding products under bump boxes? Or why? Why did you?
Yeah. Absolutely. And we've done both. So like our prenatals are branded bump boxes. And then our skincare line is Glow Organics. I think the main thing for us is, we wanted to create brands that could stand alone. So like if, because we also do, direct to consumer with those specific brands. So that was kind of the thought there, where it's, to allow them to have a life of their own and to be, another business unit within bump boxes, that you can grow and scale. So that was really the thought there.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Next question: can you tell us how do you assess and determine the different price points customers would pay for your boxes? This is a tricky thing, right? Yeah,
it is. And I think that, for us, we did a lot of analysis on different subscription boxes in the market. And then also too, we talked to our moms and tried to figure out like what price point made sense for them. And so I think through that feedback, we were able to kind of test out a few different price points that made sense. But I mean, I think it's always you can always test, right? You can always launch it at a specific price and then kind of modify depending on the feedback that you're getting. If that makes sense, if that helps a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Next, do you use an existing platform such as Shopify, or do you build your tech platform from the ground up?
Yeah, so we actually launched with WooCommerce. That was our original site. Yeah. Now our site is custom, and we have a dev team in-house, which is awesome. They do so many incredible things. It's amazing. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
What were the key strategic decisions that you made that allow you to quickly go to 20 million ARR?
Yeah, I mean, I think early on, the pivot that I mentioned, going from just an e-commerce platform to a subscription model, I think that, obviously biggest pivot we've ever done. And then also too, like spooling up different business divisions, it's definitely allowed us to diversify a little bit, so that's also attributed to the growth that we've had as well.
That's good. Okay, so next question. Hi, Christine. I have 2 kids and was exactly in your situation of searching for safe skincare and personal care, just so to make sure it's all safe for babies.
Aww.
That's good.
I love it. Yeah.
This is more like a comment than a question.
I love it. I love it. I know. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I think this is like, all moms or most moms will go through that phases where they have to figure out, okay, is the existing skincare that I use good for my baby now, right? So this is totally a good business to be in.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. So next questions. From a marketing perspective, how do you go about getting your first 1,000 customers? Which channel serve you best?
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a good insight for a lot of business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think like our first 1,000 customers, it was brute force in the beginning, right? I mean, it's like
you try everything basically, eh?
You do, yeah. I mean, like you try every channel you can to see what works. And so, yeah, I mean, I think for us early on, it was getting in front of mom, getting on the ground, talking with mom, that really made the biggest difference. It was just, having the FaceTime. Yeah,
so it's really in person, like getting in front of them and just talking to them face to face, and to build the trust and actually learn from them firsthand, right?
Absolutely. And we did some trade shows just to even, and that amplified marketing too for us. So yeah, it definitely was beneficial in the beginning.
That's good. Do you ever have issues with returns? Yeah. E-commerce, one of the challenges about returns, right? So what kind of issues do you have in terms of?
I was gonna say I don't think we have a whole lot of issues with returns, which is good. Which is good. I think the one thing with returns, it's almost another data point to understand, like if your customer is happy with the product, right? So I think like from a process perspective, like really no issues on the return side. But like it's definitely a interesting data point to understand, like what mom likes and what she doesn't. So that's always helpful.
Yeah, in your subscription box, are those items in the box stay the same, or you guys can mix up different stuff, every month?
Yeah. So we basically, like lock our boxes down for a set amount of time, and then we revamp. So it's changing, but it's typically locked down every 6 months. Yeah.
Okay. So they can't get to, expect what will be in the box basically, instead of surprise all the time. That's good. Next questions. If you were to mentor a first-time entrepreneur interested in building a monthly product subscription service, what are some key advice you give them?
Ooh, key advice. I would say, like when you launch, I would say get your product out there. Like get your box put together, send a few out, and get that feedback. I think what I see, and this might just be in general, when people have the idea, I think they get so hung up on the planning side of the idea that they forget to like run, and they forget to go. You know what I mean? Like they kind of like stall a little bit. And so like if I had any advice, it would just be like, you have to just keep pushing forward. Like that's what we always talk about, is just constantly pushing through barriers. And just recognizing that within yourself when you feel that barrier happening, and just pushing through it as fast as you can.
Yeah, and sometimes simplify things instead of overthinking and over-planning.
Like, do not over-engineer it. Just do it in its most simplistic form, get the feedback, and then you can modify.
I guess, product subscription service, you put together stuff, you just send to 10 or, even 100 people, you get the feedbacks, and then, out of those initial, cohort, how many, like your products, right? Like your items, right? So
Absolutely.
the feedback is the most valuable thing.
Yeah,
Not the
absolutely.
revenue, but the feedback. Then you can interact and just keep going, right?
Yeah.
Next question: how are you leveraging the data from your customers for marketing, such as upselling and cross-selling?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, if you go out to our site now, like you'll see some upsells and cross sells there. But I think the beauty about what we do is like we have mom's due date, so we understand what she needs and when she needs it. That's really what our subscription is founded on. So from our perspective, cross selling is easy because it's all tied to mom's due date. So we kind of have a good idea of what she wants and when she needs it. So just using the data of mom's due date really helps.
Yeah, I guess it's easy to have that data to kind of know what their situation is like.
Yeah, and where they're at in pregnancy.
Yeah.
They don't need. Yeah, there's certain things that they need in their first trimester, not in their third. So it's
Yeah, and also after they have the baby, 1 year old is different than like the 6-month-old baby.
Right.
So
Right.
it's easier to upsell.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, next one. What were the biggest challenges or problems that you had in the first year of operations?
Gosh, I would
The early
say,
days.
yeah. I mean, I would say it was something that you touched on earlier. I think it was like knowing when to hire and who to hire. I've learned so much over the last 5 years on building teams and scaling, but like early on, it was kind of like, it was really understanding like who we need, where we need them, and really solidifying what the core values of Bump Boxes were going to be. And our core values are really alive and true, meaning everyone knows them, everyone lives by them, and we talk about it every week in one-on-ones. And so I think one of the biggest things for us is making sure that we set the culture early and keep it alive and well as we grow and scale and add more people to the team.
Yeah, that's good. What size is your team now? Like how many people do you guys have now?
Yeah, we have 42 people now.
42 and growing too, right?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
How do you determine is a worthy brand or product to be part of a Bump Box subscription? So how do you kind of decide and create the products and items?
Yeah. So I think, like when we look at vendor partnerships, we have a pretty extensive vetting process. So, we screen all ingredient decks first. Then we actually use the product and kind of test for quality, because you could have a product that's organic, doesn't mean it actually does what it's intended to do. So, so we make sure that the quality is there. And then, and then if those two things check the boxes, we, ask our internal team, say, hey, is this something you would want? Is this something you think mom would want? Okay. Like we're going to put it in the subscription.
That's good.
Yeah.
Like, what percentage of your budget is spent on the affiliate program?
Yeah. I mean, I would say like we probably spend, I was going to say like very little on affiliate because it's just a natural program. You know what I mean? It's just a naturally occurring program because, once mom orders with us, she's obviously, like send an email about our affiliate program. So it's just part of our natural like customer acquisition, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So the flow is actually, once they get the boxes, they like the the product, then you check to see if they're interested to be an affiliate to either help promote the Bump Boxes or to go the side business basically.
Right. Absolutely.
That's good. Next, what's the biggest challenge to work with your husband and maintain work-life family balance? Yeah, this is a good one and quite critical for a lot of people that are trying to start business with their family or their spouse.
Yeah, I mean, I think the hardest thing is just like, especially if like you're working on a project, or like launching a new business unit, it's like, that's all you think about. That's all, you know what I mean? That's all like your mind is on. So I think it's definitely challenging for us to kind of turn it off, you know what I mean? Because we're just constantly, like just so passionate about what we're doing. And so I think that, yeah, the biggest challenge is like setting up like the boundaries of like, okay, between this time and this time, we're not talking about work, you know, it's family. And I think that that's been a challenge. Like we've, you know, it's something that you have to practice, you know what I mean? And when, you know, someone kind of starts going down, the business path, it's like time out, family time, like, hold on, like, let's pause for a second and kind of back up and relax as a family. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's always challenging with, you know, with the whole family thing as well. You have kids you have to take care of as well. So it's not just the spouse or partner. It's like, you know, you have kids to make sure they're doing okay. And if it's baby, then it's more demanding in terms of time, right?
It is. Well, yeah. And I think it's really neat, you know, to kind of watch like my daughter, just kind of see what we're doing. And like, she finally realized the other day that she was the bump behind bump boxes. And it just kind of hit her like, oh my gosh, you know? And so but it's just fun to, you know, get her involved. And like, she kind of understands, like taking her to the office, like kind of explaining things to her. I mean, she's kind of, you know, getting an education behind the scenes on like how to start a business, you know, and like what mommy and daddy do. And so that's really exciting, just to watch her eyes light up, you know, when she gets around it, like, and she sees the pink boxes, and it's amazing, because she is what sparked it all, you know. And it's just really, it's really neat to see that.
That's good. Yeah. Next question. As a subscription-based business, how did you determine your customer acquisition cost and average lifetime value?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, like, average lifetime value, obviously, like that's basically like, when you look at it, it's your, churn rate, you know, obviously, you know, definitely dictates what your lifetime value would be. So you have this churn rate component, but then you also have, you know, all of like the upselling and cross-selling that we talked about. Along with all of the different business divisions that we send to our moms after we acquire her. So like, that's part of the lifetime value, you know, that we kind of look at. And then, you know, when it comes to customer acquisition costs, we obviously look at that by channel, and we monitor that by channel. Just so we kind of know like what's being spent where, you know, if we, you know, spend, you know, X amount of dollars, you know, in this channel, what does that equate to? And even looking at it from a customer level, like what types of customers are we acquiring through these channels? Because that will also dictate lifetime value as well. So hopefully that helps. That, I mean, I could go into talking about this for hours.
It's a whole different topic too, right?
And, yeah, there's lots of intricacies around how you can analyze these things.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. So next one, what was the? Oh, let's see. Okay, it's changed. As a product discovery platform, how do you vet products with health benefits claims, and you know, how do you do it? What was the was there ever a challenge?
Yeah, so like we have you know, a database of chemicals that we screen against. That's been from an actual expert. So yeah, I mean, it has never been a challenge for us. And obviously there's resources out there that you can get access to that has additional information as well, as far as vetting. Like we always focus on endocrine disrupting chemicals, or even anything that would affect your reproductive system in any way. Like those are our main focuses. But yeah, it's never been a challenge to vet products.
That's good. So next one, what was the inspiration with that box and Bitsy?
Yeah, so Bitsy, like, you know, going back to like the LTV conversation, right? So, you know, with Bitsy, we went from, you know, 9 months of, you know, recurring revenue to 45 months. And what's interesting with Bitsy is that, you know, our moms in the beginning of Bump Boxes, I mean, you know, they had stayed with us for 2 or 3 years. I mean, after they was born, we were still sending them baby products, but it was in a pink box. So we're like, we have to rebrand this side of our business so people know that like
it's a different box.
Yeah. And then I think, with the dad box too, the dad box actually started out as a joke. So we launched it as an April Fool's joke, and we actually sold out of it. And we're like, okay, we have to actually create it. Like, that was how it started. And then, it's really taken off from there. And, a lot of our corporate clients, for paternity wellness, like, they gift dad boxes too. So, like, it was just a nice compliment to what we already do. Yeah. But it launched the best ideas launch as April Fool's jokes, I guess.
It's good for experimenting, right?
Right. Yeah.
If it doesn't work, it's just a joke.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it works, then you just double down on it, right?
Yeah, we had so much interest. We're like, okay, we're doing it. Like, this is happening. Yep.
That's good. Okay, we have one new question. What percentage of your budget at the very beginning was needed for marketing?
Oh gosh, since we bootstrapped, we had a shoestring budget for marketing. So yeah, like a lot of it was brute force in the beginning. Like I said, with like mom bloggers and trade shows, like we had a very limited budget for marketing in the beginning. So we really had to stretch it as far as we could.
Yeah, and do you guys do any Google AdWords or Facebook ads?
Yep, absolutely.
Those are quite expensive too, so it kind of adds up quite quickly, right?
Yeah. We do. Yeah, on the paid side, Google and social. But yeah, and even SEO. That's important. Especially for direct to consumer brands. So yeah, but yeah, in the beginning, shoestring budget for marketing.
Next question. As you scale into different countries, how do you tackle the challenge of logistics and fulfillment?
Yeah, that's a great question, because we're kind of, obviously in the future, we're going to, end up going down this path. I think, a lot of this, we're going to have to, look to some mentors for guidance, other direct-to-consumer companies that have done it, ask and see who they've partnered with. To try to, get a feel for that. We do ship internationally, and we do have really great international rates from the US, which is great, especially right now. But yeah, I think that's going to be something, in the future that like we're going to have to, reach out to our, fellow direct-to-consumer experts and see who they're partnering with to make it happen.
Yeah, I think it's good to know that, there's always people or other businesses that have been through this stage, and they probably know more because they are a few steps ahead, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And trying to figure out and get that advice. That way, you can just get there even faster than what you originally thought you could. Yep.
Yeah, that's good. Maybe we can also get a different speaker next time, in different startup plan chapters to talk about this logistic problem, which a lot of e-commerce business, they have this problem.
Yep, absolutely.
That's good. Looks like this is the last questions we have for the Q&A session. So, actually, there's one more just pop up. So, what should I expect to allocate for ongoing marketing in the skincare market?
Ooh, it depends. If you're going direct to consumer, here's my thing. Like, you can always start small and test. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, okay, like if you don't know anything about paid advertising, just spend $100 and figure it out. You know what I mean? Like just start small, like just so you can kind of learn a little bit. But I think, like if you're starting out, I think that, as far as marketing goes, especially direct to consumer, I think it's determined on what you're building and what you're growing and kind of what your backing is, right? Because like I'm kind of speaking of the perspective of bootstrapping. It might be different if someone is raising capital. But yeah, so, and I also think it's, another thing that determines it is how fast you want to grow. And that's something that you kind of have to think through on your projections. Like if I want this growth rate versus this growth rate, okay, what's my spend? What's my cost to acquire? Kind of tying it back to that. What's my LTV? It's all interconnected because the more, the higher your LTV, the more you can invest to get the customer. And then you can make decisions on allocating.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the on the business model as well. Like if it's a recurring business, then obviously you have more room
Right.
to actually spend on
Right.
marketing.
Right.
But if it's like a just a retail business, basically it is different ballgame.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. So this is all the questions we have tonight, and well, thank you a lot, Christine, for sharing your stories and your journey, your startup challenges, and what been working for you, what kind of challenges you've been through. I think our audience had learned a lot from you today, and because we are going to put this on YouTube later on and share it to our global audience as well. I think I'll be sure that there will be more entrepreneurs will be benefit from this webinar, this fireside chat interview tonight. So thank you a lot for spending the time to share with us and help us in terms of building the business, and also for inspiring some people that are still not jumping, not taking the leap yet, but thinking about it. They may be think about actually jumping because of taking the leap because of this talk. So thanks a lot, and we'll talk about a little bit more about the bump boxes and the bump funds later on with the post-event email, so that people can know more about the bump boxes and the bump fund if they're interested in applying for the bump fund. So what kind of channels we can reach out to if they want to talk to you later on, Christine?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can always reach out on LinkedIn. You can shoot me an email, Christine@bumpboxes.com. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. But yeah, I'm really excited to help share, some of my journey, and hopefully it helps someone else.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. So this is our event. Thank you for all the audience coming tonight or today. Because not everyone is in North America. Some of them are from outside North America, so they have different time of day. So thank you a lot, and we're looking forward to seeing you in our future events. And if you check out, you can check out our other Startup Grind events throughout this month. A lot of them are all about women, because it's Startup Grind Women Month. So check out our website, startupgrind.com, and also check out your local chapter as well. Thank you a lot, and we'll see you in our future events. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.
Bye, Christine.
Every year, Startup Grind hosts our SG Women Leaders Month, proudly recognizing the accomplishments of successful women leaders all over the world. These women are founders, venture capitalists, engineers, executives, educators, and more who represent our community all around the world. This month's SG Women Month is proudly presented by Google for Startups and Silicon Valley Bank.